Security has been a hot topic in IT for well over the last decade, and for good reason. There's been a dramatic rise in the number of attacks, hacks, and data breaches, and to be quite honest, there's a lot for us to think about in order to protect our systems, networks, and data. In this nugget, we're going to take a look at those items that system administrators, network administrators, and security administrators need to protect. Security is another one of those areas with a lot of crossover. You may be responsible for one or two of these areas, a handful of these areas, or all of these areas, depending on the size of the organization you work for and your role within. Let's start at the top here with network security, which is usually the first line of defense to protect our internal corporate resources. If someone with malicious intent makes it through our network barrier, there's a high chance that all these other corporate resources will get compromised. So it's our responsibility to keep unauthorized individuals and traffic off of our network. And some of the things that we can do to ensure that is perform penetration testing and assess vulnerabilities frequently. We'll also do things like monitor network traffic for unusual activity, implement network security policies, and configure security tools such as firewalls. Next up is systems security, and this is one that is 100% the responsibility of a systems administrator. We need to protect our servers and defend them against unauthorized access. We can do this in a number of ways. Number one, we need to make sure that the teams within our IT department only have access to the servers that they need access to. So developers have access to application servers, database developers have access to our database servers, and we, of course, as system administrators, have access to everything. Number two, we need to protect our systems from those folks that do have access to them. For example, let's say a developer wants to download the latest component to use in their application. That component just happens to be a virus. So we also need to protect our systems from the inside, and of course we can do that with antivirus software. We can also accomplish that through corporate security policies. We probably don't want folks downloading things onto our production servers anyway. We'd rather have them do that on their own machines or in a testing environment before deploying it out to our production infrastructure. Another big part of system security is closing up any security holes or vulnerabilities that are found at the operating system level. And we do that through patch management by ensuring that updates, patches, and hotfixes are applied as soon as they're available. Another huge responsibility that falls squarely onto the shoulders of sysadmins is user security. And let me tell you, those users, man, they get into a lot of trouble. Number one, users have access to all of our corporate resources. So we need to protect those resources by implementing something known as the principle of least privilege, ensuring users only have access to exactly what they need. And also we need to protect users from themselves because quite frankly, users love downloading things from the internet, especially those epic cat pictures and cat wallpapers and screensavers, and who knows what else they download that could potentially contain a virus or some kind of malicious code. Another area that's been getting a lot of attention lately is device security, and that's because the number of devices are just exploding, exponentially growing year over year. We're talking about smartphones and smartwatches, all these mobile devices that users take outside of our corporate network but still contain corporate data and can even connect to the corporate network remotely. We can protect these devices and the data on them by implementing device policies such as password policies and lockout policies, and there are tools out there. In fact, I just completed a course here at CBT Nuggets not long ago called System Center Configuration Manager, which is this grand tool for automating operating system deployments, application deployments. We can even do it remotely, and managing mobile devices, what's known as MDM, mobile device management, which allows us to remotely control and perform operations against these corporate devices when they're outside of our network. Yes, we can even perform a remote device wipe if we want to. Another common task for sysadmins is file security. We need to protect user files, corporate files, and system files like backups using access control, which is a permission-based system. So we ensure that only specific people and departments have access to files and directories that they're supposed to have access to. Another big one here is data security, protecting the data within those files and the data that lives within our databases. Imagine that a hacker breaches our network defenses and gets inside of our file and/or database servers and takes all that information home with them. File permissions aren't going to help us out much there, and that's why we can add an extra layer of security, especially to sensitive data, by encrypting it. That will ensure that only the eyes that are meant to see that data can actually see that data. Last but not least, here we have application security. Applications are the window into our corporate data, and users use these things on a daily basis to read and write data. So once again here, we enforce access control both at the application layer and the database layer to ensure that only users see the data that they're meant to see. There's a lot there, huh? You can never be too careful when it comes to security in today's world. And that's why larger organizations usually have a dedicated security administrator or security staff on hand. But in smaller to medium-sized organizations, that responsibility falls on the system administrator. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.